3 fragments, arms and legs separately. They were put into one coffin, and according to our estimates, about 50 people died. I buried 5 of them in a mass grave. My family, my aunt, and my wife separately.
If we had started to clear the rubble on the same day, we might have saved someone.
Many people remain missing.
On March 9, 2022, the Russian regular army conducted an airstrike on a residential building at 2 Pershtoravneva Street in the city of Izium. 56 people were killed. This is the number of people who died in the 5-story building. According to the residents of the house, the official number of victims is 46. At least 10 people have not been found. Their remains have burned or turned to ash. The Project Kharkiv Region, destroyed but unbroken, went to Izium to investigate the crime scene and interview people who either survived the attack or lost relatives or neighbors. We were able to talk to the specialists involved in the rescue operation, representatives of local authorities and the Kharkiv Regional Prosecutor's Office.
3 fragments, arms and legs separately. They were put into one coffin, and according to our estimates, about 50 people died. We blew up this side, both here and there. There were 7 people here, in the shield room, and others there. We dug there while the rubble was still there, and in the other direction, right up to where Reza was lying. I'm sure there is no one else here. Maybe people burned to death, because for 4 days there was smoke coming from here that... I have a fragment of video, filmed from the side where the apartments were burning.
The house is destroyed and burning. You can't see. The smoke is not removed. This house is burning, and the neighboring one is also on fire.
The people who were between the floors, but they were not found.
Mikhailo Yatsenyuk is 65 years old. He is the only survivor of the family after the bomb hit the house. On March 9, 2022, his wife, daughter, son-in-law, aunt, and 3 grandchildren were hiding in the basement of the 3rd entrance. Mikhailo arranged a shelter there and took care of his family during the shelling.
On the 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning, I brought breakfast to the kids. And my granddaughter Irina said, "Grandpa, bring some tea." I take a thermos, a kettle, go out. Here is the staircase. Here's the rise up, and down to the basement. The basement is just like an exit from the control room. And at that moment, there was an explosion. I am thrown under the ladder. The metal ladder falls down. I am thrown down on my stomach. My legs are crushed. I lost consciousness.
When Mikhailo regained consciousness, he realized that a tragedy had occurred. The 2nd and 3rd entrances had folded like cardboard, and concrete slabs had fallen underground. 40 apartments were destroyed. More than 50 people were trapped in the rubble, including Mikhailo's closest family members. He had 4 adults and 3 children. The youngest victim, his granddaughter Irina, was 3 years old.
I realized it right away. Got up in the morning, came here to pull out the stones, and started all this with my hands. with my hands. I was throwing them away with my hands. Then the guys came. This is the middle one. He would have been 10 years old in 21 days, on the 30th, on warm Alexei. He would have been 10 years old. This is Irina. 3.5 years, on the 22nd. She would have been 4 years old. This is the whole family. Father, mother. And this was when Alexei was 7 years old. The first bell. This is Zinai Koppel, 97 years old. And this is my wife, Natalia.
How long did you live with her?
Well, from 1981 to 2022. 41 years, 3 children. I buried 5 of them in a mass grave. My family, my aunt, and my wife separately.
The people who died in this house lay under the rubble for a month. Only after that did the occupiers allow the demolition to begin and let rescuers in. From March 31 to July 15, 2022, under fire, the CS employees first dismantled the rubble and pulled out bodies with their bare hands, and then they were provided with equipment.
When we arrived here, we saw the destruction of the building. There were local residents who lived in the building. They told us that there were dead people under the rubble. At first, we worked only with our hands, that is, we had no equipment. Then the local authorities, which were self-determined here in the city of Izium, provided equipment, a bulldozer and an excavator from the heating network company. This is, of course, abnormal. We had to start rescue work either that day or the next. A lot of time was lost, and if we had started to clear the rubble on the same day, we might have saved someone.
According to the rescuers, they managed to find 51 bodies, 44 of which could be identified. A year and a half after the tragedy, mountain climbers and rescuers came to the site of the destruction again to search for the remains of people under the mountain of bricks. After all, many victims were missing. They will work until the last brick is removed from the basements. They admit that the work is difficult because the building is in a state of disrepair.
We are conducting rescue operations because there is information that there may still be dead people under the rubble. The approximate locations we have been given are basements and first floors. The data on the number of people varies greatly. Many people remain missing, so the work will continue. When we have sorted everything out, we will be able to say that no one is left there.
Neither a month after the strike, nor now have rescuers found any weapons in the building. Witnesses and residents of the building also stated during the survey that they did not see any Ukrainian military nearby at the time of the explosion or before it. The Kharkiv Regional Prosecutor's Office conducted additional investigations to prove that the 5-story building was not a legitimate military target and that the attack by Russian troops was a war crime. To reconstruct the whole picture of the crime, law enforcement officers used a quadcopter to take more than 3,000 pictures and built a 3D model of the damaged house.
Особам, які не перебували на місці події, вони зможуть
People who were not at the scene will be able to feel all the fear and horrors that the Russian military is doing on the territory of Ukraine when they see the model. We can see the abandoned houses of the residents, the immediate environment of the house, that only civilians lived here, and it was not a military facility. We see books, children's clothes, and clothes that were abandoned by the residents.
The house at 2 Pershtoravneva Street has become a symbol of the horror that Russia has left behind. Next to the ruins, relatives of the victims set up a small memorial with photos of their loved ones, and the local authorities initiated the renaming of the street where people died. Now it is called Memory Street. Officials say they are not going to build anything else there.
We do not plan to restore the building on that site. We want to make a monument to the atrocities of the Russian occupation there. Let our future generations see what the Russian world is and what it leads to.
According to the Traces Project, after re-disassembling the rubble, rescuers found the remains of ammunition used by the Russian military during the attack on the house. Preliminarily, it was a large aerial projectile similar to a Fab 500 bomb. However, the emergency workers did not find any human remains at the scene of the tragedy. Therefore, the true number of deaths in one of the most massive deadly attacks against civilians in the Russian-Ukrainian war in Izium remains uncertain.